In this video, I'll demonstrate how powerful AI can be. I'll show you how I used the most advanced AI models at the time to solve a problem I had with data and how it helped me create an innovative solution. I'll walk you through a use case I created, which is a locally run finance app. I aptly named it Bank Brief. I created this mid last year, so it is actually a dinosaur in AI time, considering how fast things move. But there is value in documenting and sharing the process, tools I used, and how I balanced weighing the risks and benefits during the build. And yes, I have a cast on my arm in case you were wondering what the white thing attached to my arm is. I built this as I was experimenting and researching with AI coding capabilities, which I've been doing for a few years now. At the time, I'd taken to the Lovable AI coding platform. I found it really easy to use and intuitive, but the cost was too high as I was using it a lot. I'd pretty much taken it as far as I could within the price range that made sense. I really love Lovable and enjoyed using it. It helped me understand more about developing apps in the new era of AI. But I was looking for something more cost effective. And I was introduced early on to Claude Code and pairing it with Cursor, which is an IDE. So I found the step from Lovable to this setup was daunting. And so it took a while for me to move over from Lovable to Cursor and Claude Code. But once I did, it was actually quite easy to set up and intuitive, and I quite liked it. I'm not running through the technical how-to aspects in this video, but if you do want to use Claude Code and Cursor, or maybe another combination of tools, there are some great resources out there. So here are some YouTubers I got a lot of knowledge from. So there's Stephen Pope, Liam Van Zyl, Max Gibson, and Jack Roberts. I'll link some of their communities and channels down below. So the problem I was solving for this application was about tracking my spending and managing finances across multiple banks. I designed it for myself, so I wasn't so concerned with building something designed for other people. If you see some of my earlier videos, you'd notice I have been thinking about how to create an app to organize my financial data for a while. Of course, security of the data is extremely important, and so there were competing motivations I had to balance. It had to be cost effective, so that's cheap to host and use. Secure, like I needed it to run locally and have the data stored locally. But I also needed to use AI within the data pipeline to save hours of time, because typing out all of my transaction details from the bank statements into the app would take too long. And having to connect it to highly complicated bank app APIs is out of my scope. And 6 months ago, OCR was just starting to become a staple capability baked within frontier AI models. OCR stands for Optical Character Recognition, and it's a technology that converts images of text into actual editable, searchable text that a computer can understand. So traditional OCR just extracts text from images. It tells you, here's what the text says, but it doesn't understand it. And so there's a higher error rate when using it to interpret bank statements. And like I said, 6 months ago, they started to put vision capabilities into AI models. So then we had AI models that could read text from images, that's the OCR part, understand what the text means, understand the layout and structure, answer questions about the content, extract specific information you ask for, and handle messy, complex documents. And so I decided to leverage this new capability that AI was now bringing to the world. I'll give you a brief rundown on how I decided on the data pipeline, how I evaluated the risks and benefits of different solutions and features that I added to supercharge the workflow. The starting point is the bank statements. The challenge is ensuring that different types of banks and account types can be accepted into the pipeline. What I want is a clean interface where I can categorize spending, track money between accounts, and achieve financial goals. PDF files are notorious for not copying and pasting in an accurate manner. Because they are images, really the traditional way to get the info into a spreadsheet is manually typing the data in. That would take up a lot of hours. Alternatively, I could connect to a bank API, but really I could not. There are a lot of barriers to that method. Or I could leverage the vision capabilities that recently have been added to AI models. This is an attractive option because it swiftly takes care of the time consuming labor of typing and it takes advantage of data we already have from the banks, which means we don't need to connect to a bank API. But of course, I need to consider the risks. The main risks considered were sending sensitive data over the internet, AI's accuracy of understanding complex bank statements, AI companies' privacy policies. So I had to ask questions such as what do they do with the data? Do they train the models with it? How long do they store the data? Etc. I actually did a lot of research. This included experimenting with using traditional OCR and different AI models from OpenAI and Anthropic mostly. I landed on using Claude Opus and Sonnet. I think the versions were 4 and or 4.1. Either way, there was still an error rate I needed to consider. I managed that by keeping a human in the loop after the data was extracted. In the app, the data can be verified by looking at the PDF and the extracted data side by side. Then there is an option to edit the extracted data. So why did I choose Anthropic? Well, besides being the best in terms of accuracy, Anthropic has been at the forefront of ensuring safety and ethical use of AI. They don't train their models using the data sent to the API and they delete it within 30 days. But the elephant in the room is the risk of a bad actor intercepting the information when it is sent. And so the app includes a redaction tool. So you can redact your name and personal details before sending it via the AI API. The app has all the standard categorization features that I presume most finance apps would have, so I won't cover that. I heavily relied on Claude Code and Vibe coding for the UI ideas, and to be honest, I think it would have worked out better if I spent more time planning what I really wanted before I went into it. Because once I got deep into the code base, I found it difficult to track back. I take that as part of learning how to code with AI. I don't have a background in development, so I am coming from a different perspective than most people who build apps like this. What I do want to share though is a feature I included. This feature was planned and it solved a particular problem I had, that being not remembering certain transactions based on the transaction description and other information. Again, I built this a while ago, so it may not appear now to be the magic it felt like when I first made it, but I'll let you be the judge. As you can see here, the transaction details are imported into the form. No sensitive data is input. You can enter a relatively general location, and from there, you have the option of adding another comment or you can just leave it. So then you press enter, and the information is sent to Claude with a very structured prompt about what we want in return. It returns a very specific set of information about what the description refers to, possible purchase items in relation to the cost of the transaction, and possible purchase items pertaining to that business. As you can see, the AI model consumed 636 tokens and it cost 0.0139 of a cent to send and return the information. I like the idea of being transparent about how much it really costs to get AI to do the things. And I think it would be a great standard for the tech industry to get into and just for users to expect to know how much it did cost. As you can see, it has also provided me with contact details and an avenue for investigation if I didn't recognize the transaction. I've actually found this feature really helpful to figure out what some of my own transactions really have been. So from there, I can actually go on to search deeper with a more powerful AI model, and this second deeper analysis cost half a cent. I actually had a handful of people download this app without any advertising or posting about it, but I have since replaced access to it with a waitlist, and I'm not sure that I will do anything with it. The other thing to add is that I was using Vercel to deploy it. And the last thing I wanted to mention is that recently I've seen that Gemini has moved leaps and bounds and is arguably, alongside Claude, one of the best AI coding models. And so from here, I think I'll take a look at Google's new anti-gravity coding tool and see what I could do and how I could be creative in there. See you in the next video.